Yeah, actually, I don't believe it should be legalised. It's a dangerous concept to and too much power to give someone to have the authority to make those decisions. People that aren't or are in that situation to request to have their lives ended might be of the right mind, or I personally don't believe that it's something that one can have any authority to make a validated decision on. So it's something that could easily slip into a dangerous situation. So personally, I don't think there's a case to have a legal argument for it.
I think it should be. I think there are too many people reaching a much older age and they're having a lot of illnesses that the NHS are going to have to pay for. So it's a lot of money that, you know, these people could actually not really know what's going on in their lives, so it may actually be nicer for them if they had the option to sort of end it when they wanted to. Also with people who've been in accidents and things like that when they're in a coma, I don't think it's right for people to be left to just sort of lie in a bed like a vegetable. I think that's really sad, and I think a family should have the option of when they turn a machine off. And yeah, and also I think with things like terminal cancer and those sorts of diseases, you should have, it's your right to choose when to go and decide enough is enough and end it, really.
I think absolutely 100% it should not be legalised. The thing is, everything in the world can be replaced except human life. That's the one thing you cannot really replace. So under no circumstances should it be allowed to be forcibly taken away, even if it's the person would like to have it happen. It's just absolutely 100% against it.
And is this something that you've always thought?
Yeah, ever since I first heard of the concept of forcibly doing that by choice. Okay.
I don't. I think by euthanasia I understand you mean that somebody else gets to choose when a person ends their life, probably because they're unable to make that decision for themselves. And I think you can never be certain that somebody won't recover. I think the odds are always likely that somebody won't recover from maybe a coma or something that they've been in for a long time. But there are great recoveries and stories of people having survived a long time where it looks like there's no hope. And for somebody else to take that hope away from them or their families, I think is probably a step too far.
Actually, in my opinion, I think euthanasia should be legalized, because I think one of the primary reasons why I think euthanasia should be legalized is because it reaffirms, in a way, it reinforces the individual's right to his own life. I mean, that libertarian sense of view around which our entire this liberal democracy that is Britain revolves. So once you take that privilege from a person, the right to death, I think you do two things. First, you take, you take his liberty. I mean, you don't allow him to live freely, like in a free country that is Britain. And two, I think well, that's pretty much it, I guess.
Yes, I do think euthanasia should be legalized. I don't think people who suffer really quite a lot should be made to suffer longer. I also believe that families of patients who are on life-supporting machinery should be able to decide whether the patient should be detached from the machinery. Yet it should be to some certain extent, because some people may use it for bad reasons. But yeah, I do think that euthanasia should be legalized.
Absolutely not. I think that the complications with terminal diseases are so great, you never know what may happen 6 months down the line. New medicines are being developed, and also you can't absolutely guarantee a person's mental state when they're confronted with such a situation. They may have to be put into make this decision when they're not really ready to. It doesn't really make any sense to me to have to force someone to do that, and also run the risk of killing someone when, if they held on a couple months longer, they may be given a new lease on life or a cure altogether.
I think it should be legalised in the UK, definitely, because there are so many people who are in so much pain from so many diseases at the moment, and they're in far much more pain than they would be, and they want to, like, if someone wants to die, if someone wants that relief, then you should give it to them, because there are so many diseases where you don't have like curative or preventative medicines, and they're in such horrific pain day in, day out, and like, if people want that, it's their choice at the end of the day. It's up to the individual what they want to do with their life, and I don't see why you should take away their right to do what someone wants to do. So yeah, I think it should be legalised.
I think euthanasia should not be legalised in this country, because if you think about it, who are we to judge who should live or who should die? You know, we're all just humans, and we don't really, you know, I don't think I'd be in a position to judge whether someone's in a lot of pain or in a little amount of pain. You know, what really, you know, who are we to judge? Life is sacred, and we shouldn't be in a position to say that, oh, this life, oh, they're in a lot of pain, they should die.
Yeah, in some cases I do, mainly if the person is in a lot of pain or there's no hope in them actually ever fully recovering, then sometimes I think it is better for them to have a, what's the word, like a painless way of like coping, so they can just get out of the pain that they're in. I don't think if there's a chance for them to, like a larger chance for them to recover, then maybe they shouldn't have the option, but I think it should be legalised in the sense that a lot of people who are in a lot of pain can't just, you know, go away with dignity and such. Yeah.
I believe that euthanasia should not be legalised in the UK purely because the act of taking someone's life makes you a murderer. So it is unfair of someone, though be it in pain or not, to request that someone terminates their life and enforces on them that they must become a murderer. I think that should be illegal.